3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
All right, technically the war started in 1939 when Germany invaded Poland. Russia also helped invade Poland, but later on they jumped teams pretty much. They were first Axis, then Allies. But this whole thing, and I don't understand how Hitler came to power because of this. I understand that in World War I, Germany was humiliated. There was a treaty signed. Germany was 100,000 troop army. That's how they had to remain. They lost land. They had to pay back money because we blamed them for the war. But in 1924, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, and in that book, he lays out his plan 15 years before the war started. He talks about invading France, invading Russia. He talks about mass murders, killing off an entire race of people. But the German people, for some reason, still backed him as chancellor because they didn't know what else to do. They were humiliated. So they thought this guy was going to lead them to greatness because that's what he said. He was going to bring Germany back to greatness.
Didn't they prohibit the publishing of Mein Kampf for like 50 years after World War II?
See, I didn't even look that up. I don't know. They may have.
It used to be in our school library. I took it home and burned it.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Lynchburg's library?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I burned it.
Well, a lot of that stuff is easy to get anymore, like Mein Kampf. You can even get that book that teaches you how to make the anarchist cookbook.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
like you would
scary.
think, like, why is Mein Kampf still around? But then again, I mean, it's a history book. Even though, like, he's a madman and he's in my mind the most horrible person that's ever lived, but to be able to get inside of his head is something very interesting.
It becomes a historical account.
Yeah. Now I've never read Mein Kampf because that book is like it's huge and it's translated into English, and German to English is still kind of broken. You know what I mean, as far as the translation goes. I've never read it.
I tried to read it. It was above my head, and I was like in 10th grade, but I'm also kind of an idiot.
Well,
you'd have to be a World War II scholar to really fully grasp.
It was like reading a philosophy book, because I mean that's what it is. He's telling you his philosophy.
Well, any of these, even the books I read and have read on World War II, they don't read like normal books. They read like reports. Mm-hmm. They read like military reports. So they're not really for everybody. If anybody wants to check out World War II, I suggest Netflix and just checking out documentaries. There is one documentary that I do recommend everybody check out, but it's very, very, very hard to watch. I made Brad watch it.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It's just called the Holocaust, ain't it?
Nazi concentration
camps. And it's literally just footage of when these camps in 1945, when Germany surrendered and we liberated these camps.
How many actual camps were there? I mean,
there was different kinds.
Dachau and Auschwitz, and that's
there's different kinds of camps. There weren't just death camps. There were work camps, but there were death camps too. I'm wanting to say, and I should know this, I'm wanting to say there were 6 or 7 death camps.
So what's the difference?
A work camp, they would literally just work people
until they died.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them did die, but they would work them like slaves. Death camps, they would train these people in just for the fact to murder them. That's where the gas chambers were at these death camps.
So, like, what would Auschwitz be? Because I thought it was like you're doing it like they're doing both things.
Auschwitz was kind of a mixture of both. They did all sorts of things there. They did the experiments there. They did the gas chamber there, but it was also a labor camp as well.
Do you know if there's like some sort of historical account of like successes they might have had from the eugenics portion?
I'm sure there is, but in all honesty, I've never researched that because in my mind, I don't want to find anything good about this. Like, yeah, I get we took some science from Nazi Germany. That's the reason we got to the moon.
Yeah.
Okay. But as far as them doing experiments on these people, like, I don't know if I want to know if anything good came out of that. Because in my mind, the positive don't outweigh the negative on that.
Yeah. I was just
No, I get what you're
just
saying.
Curious if
I know you weren't just jumping in there like, well, fuck, what good came out of this? No, I get what you're saying.
There's got to be a silver lining somewhere.
Yeah. But I honestly don't know the answer to that question. We can we'll get into like Pearl Harbor and D-Day and all that stuff, but right now we'll just do some random facts that maybe you guys didn't know about.
Okay.
33,000 Jews were killed in less than 2 days on September 1941 in Ukraine. 33,000 people.
How many people died in 9/11? Because I just asked because it's so difficult to grasp like numbers like that.
I want to say it's like 3,000 to 5,000.
That's kind of where I was.
So like 10 times 10 9/11s.
Yeah.
Well, just
in
think
a day.
Think of this: 1/3 of the total Jewish population was wiped out.
What is the deal with the Jews? What is
they were impure. From what Hitler is saying, that they were impure people.
Yeah, but he's not the first one to target them either. Like, it just seems like Jews just get attacked over and over, and I don't understand where it comes from.
I don't either.
Oh, no, I even got that number wrong. I'm sorry. 2/3 of the total 9 million Jews living in Europe were murdered. 2/3 of 9 million people were wiped out. And then,
so you're saying
5 or 6 million Jews,
6
just
million
Jews
total?
Because I don't know, because they can't know the exact number.
No,
but they're saying upwards of 12 million total people were murdered. Like Nazis wiped these people out. And what's always bothered me, what did we do about it? Like, I understand, like we were in this war. I get that. I understand after Pearl Harbor, we dropped the biggest fucking bomb to ever be dropped. But what did we do about it? Yeah, what did we do about 12 million people dying for no reason?
We made them pay crazy reparations, but I mean,
yeah,
doesn't make up for it,
right?
And I know somebody will listen to this. They know more about this than I do. Will say, well, America did this then, which is great. If anybody knows anything, let us know. I want to be informed about this because as of right now, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
And it didn't all start with, okay, Hitler's in power, let's murder all the Jews. It started little by little. Hitler introduced these laws, like marrying the Jews or having sex with them was made illegal by Hitler in 1935 under the Nuremberg Law. Like, he hated these people so much, it was illegal to marry or have sex with any of these people. And the fucked up thing is, Hitler wasn't German.
He was Austrian.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just lost on the whole like logic behind it.
And then he would make laws like this, which this is a little bit underlining for some people. In Germany on November 11th, 1938, Hitler made it illegal for Germans to own guns. Less than a year later, World War II started and all this started.
So if you're a civilian and you don't agree with Hitler, what are you going to do about it?
Nothing you can do.
Yeah, they felt helpless. There was nothing they can do. And Nazis didn't just have military weapons. Nazis had these crazy ass military weapons, like tanks that were in a ball. Like, it's 1939. It's not 2019.
Mm-hmm. I was listening to some of the audiobook that you recommended, The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. It mentioned that there are historical scholars that believe that there was some manipulating of the Hitler name. So his surname had changed a few times, right? Before Hitler was born. and there is some belief that it was to promote this like more masculine and more like political sounding name, and like I guess just a generation before he was born, he could have ended up being Adolf Schicklgruber, and their historians believe that if that would have been the name, there's evidence to believe that he could maybe have not even ended up in power just by the silliness of that sounding of a name, which is hard to fathom. But
Well, they did a lot of things to make Hitler seem larger than life. He was actually with somebody for most of his time during World War II, and before that, it was Eva Braun, but they wouldn't even sleep in the same room. He would make her sleep in a different room. They wouldn't allow to have any affection in public because he wanted this, which if you've seen a picture of Hitler, I don't understand this, but he wanted to seem available to the German women. Like Hitler's whole thing was just a mirage.
yeah, there's a lot to say about his drive for masculinity and lack thereof.
I don't know how true this is, but I've heard that he had a micro penis, and that was part of it.
I have heard that too.
I
Really?
don't know if that's just total bullshit,
Yeah,
but
it could be.
So this whole thing's because he had a little dick.
yeah, I mean, part of it. He wanted to be a man, and he had.
Well, that same book also described how when he ultimately committed suicide, he was found with his Iron Cross medallion from World War I, which there are apparently conflicting reports about his role in combat in the First World War.
Yeah.
And, some say that he was just part of a delivery service, basically, in the First World War. And he had always claimed that he was in part of all this combat, which he might not have actually been.
See, a lot of the stuff, there's a bunch of sides to it because who really knew Hitler? It was all just a facade. Like it was all fake. That he wanted to seem larger than life. He wanted to seem like this hero.
Mm-hmm.
Well, didn't he say, like the big lie, tell a lie so unbelievable that they have to believe it? That just like describes.
I don't know. He used to tell me that all the time.
It just describes his whole life. Like you just make up something so unbelievable. They're like, there's no way he's lying about this.
Yeah.
Well, this shows you just how big of a coward Hitler really was. Well, first off, he didn't want to be captured. He killed himself. But he was so paranoid towards the last few days in that bunker he was hiding in that he was afraid that the poison that he was going to take was just going to knock him out, and then he would be captured by the Allies. So what he did is, and a little backstory on this, Hitler was a big animal lover. Like he passed laws in favor of animals.
God.
His best friend was a German Shepherd. He called this dog his best friend. He gave the poison to his fucking dog to make sure it would kill and not just knock out.
Wow.
That's how big of a coward he was.
I also heard a story. Again, I don't know. This could be just propaganda, but when he was a child, someone killed his dog. I want to say it was a Jew. Might not have been a Jew. Somebody killed his dog, and that kind of started the rage. Yeah, supposedly there's like hundreds of paintings he had made of that German Shepherd while he was in office. They're probably worth millions of dollars now.
Yeah, the only thing I can find is on Blondie, who was his dog when he killed himself. I can't find anything.
Yeah, that was the dog that was painted.
No, there was some conspiracy about his actual death, wasn't there?
Yeah, he escaped.
Yeah, he lived in Argentina.
Yeah.
But that's a conspiracy with a lot of the Nazi war criminals that were never captured, that they moved to Argentina.
So
Plus,
I
you
mean, was
wouldn't
that the whole thing, or was there? I thought there was something to do with, because it was ultimately the Soviets that discovered him, right? Like after he had committed suicide. I was thinking that there was something to do with that the Soviets were saying the West actually has Hitler's remains, or they have him alive, like basically pushing it on us that he's somewhere over here in the States.
See, I've never heard the theory that he was over in the States.
Where are his remains? Because I feel like that would be in a museum.
The book described that he was cremated and then his ashes were buried. And then there was another part of that conspiracy where that they had found a part of his. They exhumed apparently whatever remains were left, and they found a piece of the skull with the bullet hole. But later on, there was some sort of conspiracy that fragment of the skull was actually belonged to a female, so it couldn't have been his.
See, I've never heard that one. That one's new to me.
Gotcha. This was all. I don't know if this was part of. Now I can't remember if it was part of the book or if this was something I read in a side article.
I don't remember hearing that in the book.
I may
have missed it.
You know how well conspiracies can.
Yeah,
just
they kind of
jump
blend
around.
in together.
Yeah.
Another some more facts about all this that kind of blows your mind to think, like, why didn't Jewish people help themselves on this? As far only 150 people in Treblinka, only 150 killed more than 870,000 Jews. 150 people killed 870,000 Jews.
Wow.
But you also got to think they weren't there at the exact, like, they would bring these people in. So it wasn't like there was 870,000 people there and 150 people killed them, but still. Because I have heard of, like, thousands of people. Well, that fact I said, thousands of people got killed in a day.
That's hard to even fathom.
Yeah,
150 people.
It really is. It's on my bucket list to go to the Holocaust Museum at some point.
My brother was telling me about that today.
It's in Florida, ain't it?
Washington.
There's one in Florida.
Or there might be.
There are several all across the world, but I think there's even 4 or 5 in the States.
See, I'd like it to take it one step further and actually go to Germany and go to, like, Auschwitz. Because, I mean, not everybody can do that. I mean, it'd be easier to go to one of the museums. But I do feel like if you're able to go to Germany, you have the extra money.
Yeah,
I think
get there at some point.
Yeah, I think everybody should experience it. I think it's part of everybody's human right to stand where they stood.
Yeah. From people that I've heard that have gone there, it's like this sort of surreal, like you feel like you've gone back in time, because it's obviously one part the subject at hand, but also the way in which it's conveyed in the architecture of the museum that, like, really I don't know, puts it on your shoulders, I guess.
My brother was saying there's one room you walk in and there's just, like, you walk over this, like, bridge thing, and underneath the whole floor is just filled with all these Jewish people's shoes that were murdered, like, just thousands of shoes. And there's another room where, like, every inch of the wall is, like, a picture of someone that was executed during the camps.
Yeah, because even
Okay.
that documentary that you watched, there's, when they liberated them, there's rooms of stuff. Because wedding rings, watches, and other precious stone possessed by victims was looted by the Nazis during the Holocaust. Like, they took everything. And I can't remember where I read this, but I want to say it was Auschwitz. I could be wrong about that. But the place they called where they kept all of the Jewish people's stuff, or the gypsy stuff, was called Canada. Then I know 50% of total over 50% of the total people killed in the Holocaust were women. Because you got to think it's a sterilization type thing. They don't want them to reproduce. So obviously you would go after the children and the women.
Why did he also go after, like, the blacks and, like,
it's just like the mentally challenged and all that. It's they're impure.
Yeah.
They're an unpure people.
He was just a fucking psycho.
You know why I was is because he was a vegetarian.
Was he a vegetarian?
Yeah.
That piece of shit.
Yeah,
That might be
yeah,
the
but
worst
yeah, he
thing he
was.
did.
And see, we caught some of them, some of the Nazis, because between 1945 and 1985, it says around 10,000 convicted Nazi war criminals were imprisoned, and 5,000 were executed.
They should have made every one of them starve to death.
Yeah.
Like, in that documentary I watched, or well, it's not even really a documentary, just the footage. They talk about when the U.S. came and liberated some of these camps, that some of these people were so weak and so starved that they couldn't even eat. Like, they were already gone. But they were still alive. There's food sitting right in front of them, but they don't have the energy. And their digestive system's already quit working. So they just sat there and died as everybody else was eating.
I read that Hitler and basically his entire regime were all like on meth and an assortment of drugs.
They were.
Is that true?
Yeah, you could get it like as a prescription. Anybody could get it in Germany. I don't know if it was in the U.S. then, but you got to think. Take a pill, because it was in pill form. They didn't smoke it or anything like that. Take a pill and you're a super soldier. You no longer had to worry about not traveling at night because you're up for 3 days. You could keep going. But see, on the flip side of that, he would make them, well, not make, I don't know if he made them or not take it. I'm sure he did. But he wouldn't allow his soldiers to smoke cigarettes.
Yeah,
Like, trying to figure this guy out is impossible to me. Like, all right, here's take this super drug. You're gonna be a super soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Get that cigarette out of your mouth. No.
It's like he has all these little pet peeves and he just makes them illegal.
See, but on the flip side of that, because I don't want to just, because a lot of bad things happened everywhere around this time. I mean, not as many people, obviously, but think of being like an 18, 19-year-old kid. You're in Hawaii. You know, you're in the Navy. You know, what's going to happen to you in Hawaii in the Navy, 1941? And then on the morning of December 7th, 1941, Japan just annihilates America. Like, they come in just guns blazing. There's still people at the bottom of the ocean still entombed in that stuff.
Yeah.
What was the play by Japan? Like, why? Because we weren't even involved at the moment.
Because we were a part of freezing their assets and freezing their money. And they thought that going to war with America was just as bad as going broke. So they figured they didn't have anything to lose.
They were wrong. They fucked up.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing
Mr.
about, you hear
Morgan,
about like
sleeping giant.
9/11, how we were warned about that. We were warned about Pearl Harbor. We
Yeah.
were warned that the Japanese were going to strike a naval base in that area.
Really?
Yeah, we were warned.
I've heard that too on a documentary.
Like, I don't know to what extent, like, obviously they didn't take it seriously.
Yeah, I heard it was
But
like
we were
a
warned.
day before. Like, it was hours.
Well, wasn't it true that their strategy for attacking Pearl Harbor was completely flawed because it was on a Sunday? Is that correct? And I could be totally wrong on that. But I thought I read something about how they attacked on a day where most of the soldiers weren't around. Yeah, weren't on the ships, weren't on base. I could be wrong on that, but
December 7th, 1941 was a Sunday.
yeah.
It seems like you could do a whole lot more damage when nobody was there.
Well, if you're trying to take
Well,
lives,
Well, you also got to think that they're trying to take down like their air bases first. They're trying to take down these things that will hurt them if they don't take them. So if there's not as many people there, they go straight for those. We're done.
so it's almost more valuable to destroy their assets than it is people.
I wish there was a good movie representation of this event.
Pearl Harbor.
That is the worst fucking like that. That's about as bad as Titanic.
Yeah, I hate that movie.
Like, that movie made me hate Ben Affleck.
Made me hate the one cook. God.
Oh, the stuttering guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
His name is.
I like that movie.
I hated it.
Like if you take it for what it was and it wasn't trying to be based on historical events, it was a good movie. But if you try to compare it to like what actually happened, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
The love story outshadowed the actual Pearl Harbor event.
Why the fuck is Japan even in this? I feel like I've never learned about this war. Now that we're talking about it, like, how did Japan get involved?
Japan is a Germany ally.
Fuck. But still, why would... I don't get that. Why would you sacrifice that? Even if you are... Well, I guess if you're worried about Germany messing you up.
I think a lot of it was as far like treaties for land and stuff. Like, I'll give you this.
Yeah. They fucked up, man.
Japan fucked up.
Yeah. Bad move.
Japan fucked up because the atomic bomb.
How come China always stays out of this?
That's true. Were they in the war at all?
I think very small. Like, I feel like they helped out a tiny bit, but they're never in wars. Modern wars. They got rid of the Mongols and they're just peaceful now.
It says China lost 14 million people in World War II.
Okay, never mind. But that's a small fraction.
That's only like 0.5% of
Yeah.
those people.
Well, that's another.
They probably were just in the wrong spot at the wrong time. They weren't even fighting.
That's another thing. Like, China has what, 1 million man standing army?
Yeah.
Like that's insane. But there was I think it was a Chinese general, I think in the late 1800s, early 1900s, that said I would never want to go to war on American soil because there would be a gun behind every blade of grass.
There is.
And that's why, like, there's never really been a war. But I mean, Pearl Harbor, it was an event that happened, but there's never been a war on our grounds because every hillbilly has 16 guns around here.
And we know the terrain. Like, you're in completely unknown terrain fighting hillbillies that don't care. Jacked up on Mountain Dew and they're Chevy. I seen I think there's 400 million guns in America now compared to like 300 million citizens. There's more than one gun per citizen.
Until 2024 when President Beto comes around.
Yeah. That might set off the next Civil War.
Yeah. We've talked in past episodes about how to start a revolution. Automation and taking away guns.
See, and
Either or.
There's an example right here. He just said what happens when you take away your guns.
Yeah.
And see, that's what a lot of people are afraid of nowadays, that they're restricting gun rights, so this is automatically going to happen. I don't think that's really what the American government is going for here.
Maybe.
I could be wrong, but that just seems a little much. But yeah, did you know, since we were talking about Pearl Harbor and what happened after, how America found out that Germany had nuclear weapons? The smartest guy to come out of Germany.
Einstein.
Yep. He actually sent a letter to the president stating that Germany was producing atomic weapons.
Really?
And that's what started the Manhattan Project at Area 51 of us creating the nuclear bomb.
Just a quick thing about the Manhattan Project. There was like 100,000 people employed for this project, and not a peep came out of it. So when people say, like, there's no way this conspiracy theory is real, there's too many people that would be in on it.
Remind folks what the Manhattan
The building of the nuclear weapons. Okay. But there was over 100,000 people involved in this program, and not a word got out until it happened. So secrets can be kept.
Mm-hmm.
That's like everybody's go-to about a conspiracy. There's too many people involved.
Right.
There can be that many people involved.
But see, maybe it was something like, well, this group of people was doing this, but they don't actually know what it's going to.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because I doubt that 100,000 people knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
I mean, if it is,
Right.
I really hope they made a lot of money, because that's a hell of a secret for 100,000 people to keep.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary about the nuclear, like, I can't remember what it was called, Hiroshima or whatever, but apparently the war was over. And, like, Japan was already on their way to sign the treaty. And basically we're like, well, we want to test this out. We already have this. We want to see what it'll do to civilians. And in this documentary, they say they didn't drop it on, like, a military compound. They dropped it on a city and exploded it above the ground to see what the radiation would do. Not on impact. Exploded it like 100 meters in the air. And it was basically just a giant experiment. Like, the war was over.
So Nagasaki was first. And that one, that's on a military base.
Is it?
I
thought it was a city. I'm pretty sure they're both cities.
Okay.
I could be wrong. This documentary was basically saying they were attacking civilians. Like, the main people that died from this were civilians.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can dispute that.
See, I want to say Hiroshima was first.
I'm not sure which one was first. But this documentary, I wish I knew the name of it because it's a great show. I think it was on BBC. Yeah, it is BBC, because what I liked about it is it's not American literature teaching you, it's another country. And they kind of give you a real view of it, and they have people that were actually there that survived it. Like, this one dude was on a train and seen the flash behind him, like he was leaving the city and just barely got out of there.
Yeah, Hiroshima was on August 6th, and Nagasaki was 3 days after that.
Oh, I thought they were on the same day. I didn't even realize that.
So what does the Japanese government do in those 2.5 days?
They fucking surrender. Like they
No. The couple days between. Are they?
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like, if they were on their way to sign a treaty, I feel like I'd be making my voice known. We're done.
Well, apparently it took 3 days for that voice to get heard.
Well, more than that, because they dropped the other one. So,
and in the
you're
documentary,
looking
they
at
say,
almost a week before you're like, okay, that's enough.
well, they say that they were warned too. They knew about it, and basically the one guy that was supposed to be watching was on lunch break. Just happened to be on lunch break, like it was allowed to happen.
That's some Jeffrey Epstein stuff there.
See, Japan didn't even surrender until August 15th.
They were waiting for more.
Yeah, it says 6 days after Soviet Union's declaration of war and the bombing of Nagasaki, the Japanese government signed the Instrument of Surrender on September 2nd in Tokyo Bay, which effectively ended World War II. So they surrendered on August 15th, but the war didn't technically end until September 2nd. Like, we had to do fucking paperwork for the war to end.
I mean, that kind of, I can probably understand that.
But just think about that. Like, all the people that died in World War II, the soldiers, the Jews, the gypsies, everybody, everything was okay after we signed a piece of paper.
Right.
Like, that stuff is mind-blowing. And maybe it's because I've never personally served in the Army or anything, so I don't really know that side of it. Mm-hmm. But that just blows my mind that it can all just go away with agreeing on a couple things, sign a piece of paper.
Yeah.
I feel like it was just everybody pushing the limits, and then the bomb dropped, and they were like, shit, let's stop this.
Yeah.
And I feel like that fear is starting to wear off.
Tulsi Gabbard made a really great point the other day that I hadn't really considered. We don't dedicate ourselves to war, even though we're in one or two or however many we're... I don't even really understand how it's... To me, we're in a war in the Middle East, and it's dragged on forever. And it's not even really... It's not like this kind of war.
No, it's not a world war.
Yeah, it's not. So she's saying, consider that in these times, you're 18 years old and you go to war until it's over. Like, that's a fucking commitment.
See, that's why I dig, like, I like the 40s and the 30s so much, is because the mindset they had. Like, I'm not saying anybody was right on any side for killing anybody. I'm not saying that at all. but 18, 19 years old, you go to war, and the stuff these kids, they were kids, had to experience, and flash forward 80 years later, and college kid needs fucking safe places because of like graffiti. Like we've lost something in between then and now.
Well, part of that is, like you said, we haven't had a war on our soil. No American's ever seen it other than the ones that have served. We don't even, it's like a movie. Like, it's not real. That's why really people should watch that documentary on Netflix about the concentration camps, because
it doesn't seem real because it's just in history books.
Yeah.
Like, we think...
And the numbers are hard to grasp. That kind of struggle and that kind of pain it's so like out there that you can't really like put words to it, so you just don't even try to comprehend it.
Yeah, that's why that it's now. I think there should be an age restriction on who watches this Netflix documentary. Like, I want my kids to know about World War II and know about the Holocaust, but when they get a certain age, maybe push that on them. But it's something, if you're an adult, you need to watch, because 80 years ago isn't that long ago.
No.
Germany isn't that far away. It was like a 12-hour plane ride away. 12 million people got killed.
That's one person away. That's one lifetime away.
And then
not long.
With all the 12 million, 11 million, I mean, the numbers are jumbled. It's estimated that 1.5 million kids were murdered. 1.5 million kids.
It's ruthless.
Like, imagine filling U.S. Bank Arena up like 20 or 30 times. Probably more than that. Do the math on that. Because I want everyone to understand these numbers are catastrophic.
I think U.S. Bank holds like 20,000.
I wanted to say, like, yeah, it's somewhere around there.
75 times.
And that's just kids.
Yeah, again, it's
like
it's a number too big to...
Like, Nazi Germany were scared of kids to the point where they wiped them out.
I can, I guess, sort of grasp how one person can just be maniacal and evil. I mean, there's evil in the world. It's plain to see how one person can have that overcome them. What I have never understood is how an entire regime can be.
They were desperate. They were already backed into a corner. They were reeling off of World War I. Like we said earlier, they had nothing to lose. And this guy was making promises that they were going to be the new race. They were going to own everything.
Well, it's not like the German people were supportive of what ultimately happened.
Well, a lot of them didn't know what was happening.
That's what I mean. So he had an entire following of supporters that were willing to carry out his will.
Germany, and especially the Nazis, but Germany loved Hitler. They praised this man.
He was like a god.
Like, there was, I'm going to get the name wrong, but it was like Children of Hitler. Like, it was set up like the Boy Scouts pretty much, where these kids are being raised to be Hitler's SS or SA, whichever. But because I'm sure if somebody's listening to this, we're jumbling around a lot, because as much as I know about this, like, I'm still not an expert.
No, we're just three guys talking about it.
I just want to get across in this episode that this happened, and we're forgetting about it. Mm-hmm. I understand it's in some textbooks. I don't know to what extent. We should ask Shay what was in her high school one. I didn't even think about it, but I don't even think she would remember.
Yeah, wrong person to ask. I love you, Shay.
But I did look up some of the laws that for who requires for it to be taught to this extent, and California, Illinois, New Jersey, Florida, and New York are the only ones in law that have to teach it to a certain extent. Because I read something.
Well, what does that mean?
Well, like it'll say like what they have to, like in Illinois it says Holocaust and Genocide Study, Every public elementary and high school shall include in its curriculum a unit of instruction studying the events of Nazi atrocities of 1933 to 1945. This period in world history is known as the Holocaust, during which 6 million Jews and millions of non-Jews were exterminated. One of the universal lessons of the Holocaust, blah, blah, blah. And in California, this is their law. Induction shall provide a foundation for understanding human rights issues with particular attention to the study of inhumanity of genocide, slavery, and the Holocaust and contemporary issues. Like each state has it mapped out of how they're going to talk about it. No, but there's not one big law, which I think there should be, that states you must educate kids about this, and this about it. Like California can they can talk about genocide, slavery, and the Holocaust and contemporary issues. So the Holocaust is going to get lost in all that. And don't get me wrong, slavery and genocide and anything isn't important. But when you mash them all together, it's going to get lost.
Yeah. And as time goes on, it's not like history is going to stop creating itself.
No, and there might be a few left. If there is, it's probably you can count on two hands how many are left from the Holocaust. Like they're dying out. Mm-hmm. And if they die out, are we going to stop talking about it as much? Is it going to get pushed under the rug? That's why I wanted to do this episode. Mm-hmm. I'm not an expert on World War II. I know more than the average person on the Holocaust, which seems kind of creepy. But I've been interested in all this since probably I was a kid. I did all this research. I don't remember learning that much in school. This is all research I've done.
Now, we're talking a lot about Russia, but Germany, how does Russia get ignored? Stalin killed more people than Hitler.
Really?
Yeah. Lots more.
Is that true?
I'm gonna look up.
I'm almost certain. Tons more. Millions more. And you never learn about that.
You just learn.
You know that Stalin sucked.
Yeah.
I'm probably way off.
Holy shit. It said Stalin killed from 3 million to 60 million. And Hitler killed 46.5 million people who died as a result of Hitler's foreign policy and brutal racial extermination policy. That's coming from brainly.com. It's the first thing that pops up on Google.
So
3 to 60?
Yeah,
that's a pretty big gap.
Yeah, slightly. If it was just 3, he's not that bad of a guy.
Well, this says, and this is coming from Cura.com, whatever that is, Stalin almost certainly killed more people than Hitler did, but Hitler killed people faster. From 1938 to 1945, Hitler killed approximately 17 million Roma, Slavs, Serbs, Jews, non-heterosexual people, and disabled people.
Huh. So he had a faster rate. But at the same time, you don't hear about Stalin like you hear about Hitler.
You're right. That's a great point.
It is. But did Stalin attack a certain group of people, or was it just kind of random? I don't know a whole lot about Russia.
I don't either. That's kind of what I'm saying.
I had no idea that. I knew obviously that he was a bad dude, but I didn't realize that was the case.
That's your homework.
I'm guessing that he just went after anybody that was against him.
Yeah. In massive quantities.
Well, he was taking over. The old Russia was enormous. So he was killing everybody in those countries.
How long was Stalin in power?
It was a very long time. I knew that.
That's back when it was like a monarch, right?
Is it a monarch or is it whatever it is?
I don't think it is now. It was some kind of royalty back then.
Yeah, we're looking at 34 years, 1929 to 1953.
So 1 to 2 million per year.
That's still a lot.
He might not have killed them as brutally.
You can spread out 1 million people over a huge swatch of land where, that's actually a really great point. He had this longer, more consistent butchering of people. But when you compare the two, you always think Hitler's the worst person that ever lived.
And he survived the war. He still went on to rule for another 10 years.
Well, that's because he piggybacked on the Allies after.
Oh, that's true.
He's jumped teams.
And then
So Stalin's the
into the
real
Cold War.
evil genius. Hitler was
he
just
probably propped up Hitler.
Hitler was just a methed out micro dick motherfucker.
Well, an interesting thing about Hitler, all these Jews and everybody that died in these concentration camps, there's no record of Hitler ever stepping foot on any of these concentration camps. So that he's a coward.
Yeah, he couldn't even stomach
He
his own doing.
couldn't even see it. He killed himself before he gets captured. But somehow he convinced millions of people that his way is the best way. But yeah, did we touch on that documentary about the townspeople?
No.
In that documentary, they would make the townspeople that were closest to these concentration camps, and they were all like dressed to the nine, like they had money. They were the rich German people of the town. They would make them come into the concentration camps once it was liberated and see everything, including these thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dead bodies. And all these people were just smiles and talking while they're walking down the road. And then even in black and white, you can see their face just change color once they walked into there.
Yeah, like their soul just left their body. And
Yeah, I mean,
there was
you
another
would.
part where I forget how many there was. There was like, I want to say 1,200 people buried, and the Americans had to dig them all up to perform autopsies to like see what happened. And it shows the soldiers like carrying these dead bodies back out of the ground. Like that's got to be the worst job. First of all,
Yeah.
I would have left. I would have been like, "Fuck this,
Where
get
you
me
gonna
out of here."
go?
I don't know, but
Ugh.
I mean, it's
They're the greatest
better have a
generation
stomach.
for a reason.
yeah. And these guys were doing it like it was just pulling weeds.
Could you imagine like on either side? Because I'm sure there were Nazi soldiers that didn't fully believe in what they were doing. So even some of them, can you imagine like just being even in your 20s, and this isn't just on the internet. This isn't just on documentaries. It's right in front of you.
Yeah.
Like imagine what that would do to you.
Well, I've always thought that, you know, we like when we think of war, we're always obviously thinking of a team mentality, but like, aren't the other guys across that you're fighting? They're just fighting for themselves and for their guy beside them too.
They're just as innocent as you are.
Yeah. If it was a real war, it would be over in 2 days because it would be
Full on.
It would be 20 bloated fucking politicians
Oh, yeah.
fighting each other. It wouldn't be millions of people.
Well, I think now that's why we can just push buttons to start wars. So that way, if for some reason the troops won't do it, then the fat politician can just come up and hit that button. I've always thought that, especially with something we didn't even touch on. Like a lot of these kids didn't even have a choice; they were drafted.
Yeah, both my
Yeah, like
grandfather or one of my grandfathers was drafted.
Really,
Yeah.
in World War II.
Yeah. Sent to Germany.
Wow.
See, I wonder what he saw. Like,
He never talked about it. My other grandfather was in Japan, but he died when I was 5. Apparently, he had all kinds of stories, but I never really got to talk to him about it.
Imagine just for a second that happens to tomorrow Kim Jong Un sends
can you find a better example?
Nope, he's the one.
Okay.
I mean, he's just as crazy.
What's the movie where North Korea Olympus has
Interview?
fallen?
Oh,
I thought you were
Olympus
talking
has
about
fallen, which is totally could actually happen. That happens tomorrow. Olympus has fallen, and suddenly we have to take on the Chinese and North Korea, and we don't have enough in our army or in our entire military. I know I'm just bullshitting right now, but we have to have a draft, and next week you will receive a letter in the mail saying, or an email or however we do it, that you have to pack your bags and you're going to Hong Kong.
You got two choices.
I'm 33. He just had shoulder surgery. Let us know how that goes.
The bad thing about the draft is it goes after the young kids. You go 18. I think it was 18, 21.
Yeah,
19,
there's
20.
age groups it takes first.
I mean, they're taking the kids that don't know any better. That's
It's-
never got to live.
Is it 18 to 35?
I think so.
It might be 36, but it's 35, 36, something like
So
that.
you're still eligible.
I'm still eligible, but they don't want me.
Depends on how bad the need is.
Do you have any brothers?
I have an older brother. He's like 36, 37.
You might be fucked then.
I know. Because isn't there like they can't draft an only child, an only male
I
child,
think so.
or
Really?
the
Yeah.
oldest or the youngest.
It's because it will end your family name, basically. It'll end your...
No shit.
Well, World War starts. There's a pretty good chance you're going to die. Like,
Well,
they're-
I'm exempt then.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have half siblings
Yeah.
and step siblings,
but nobody to carry
Oh,
on
yeah,
the
you're
Puckett
good then.
name.
See you guys. I'll be here.
You don't even have to change your name.
Yeah, in about 7 months, that's going to be different. And if you have a boy,
Oh.
That's a good point. But I get that time. Or wait. So the
yeah, you would still go.
Yeah, you would.
so it's a protection of the name. That's
I'm assuming.
Yeah, but
It's a
like
gene line.
just claim
Well,
you're
yeah.
a different gender or something. I'm sure you won't have to go.
I think if it ever gets to that, there isn't going to be no fucking rules. We're all going.
yeah.
I would like to think that if a big war, that the next World War would come, which I do believe if the next World War comes, there's going to be some American soil fighting. I would
That is a terrifying thought.
yeah. I would really, really hope that I'm like strong enough to just sign up.
I mean, what the fuck? You're going to get
Right.
involved anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what you're saying. I don't know if I
But
could
then
fucking
again,
do it. But
but then again, if it was on American soil, like would I dodge that draft to protect my own family? I wouldn't really dodge a draft. But I'm just saying, like, there's situations like that. And like World War II, like we were mostly in Germany, Poland, places like that. Imagine how scared those people were. They were just hiding in their houses.
just bombs going off all over.
Yeah.
Just waiting on it to hit your house.
I'm thinking of that scene from Saving Private Ryan where the half of that house is blown off and they got to help that family out and the little kid.
See, like I said, I never signed. Well, I did start to sign up, but I backed out when I was like 18 or 19. But I have a bunch of friends that enlisted, so they're more man than I was because I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I just wish
Never
there
had
wasn't a
to.
need.
right. Yeah.
That it was just peaceful all around.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
But this is a wake up that there really is evil out there.
yeah.
Like watching the concentration camp thing. Like I've been pretty against this war that we're in, but I haven't been over there. I haven't seen what's going on. There could be shit just like this. So I can't sit here and justify what I'm sitting here not doing anything about it, that we shouldn't be over there.
do they read Anne Frank in school anymore? You think? Because
I
I'm
don't
wanting
think
to.
we did. Did we?
I did.
We never did. I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
Really? Well, fuck, I'm not that much older than you guys.
You're pretty fucking old.
I'm like 6, 7. What are you, 26?
You're 5, I think.
27.
27, 6 years older than you.
Yeah.
So in
I
six,
mean, we could have. I mean, my English days were not
No, I would
the
remember
strongest.
that.
Yeah.
So I'd been looking
would've.
up like the Cliff Notes.
or just watch the movie like I did.
Yeah.
But no, because that's kind of depressing that they don't even read that. Because I was thinking that was probably my first introduction to the Holocaust, and I don't think I took that book seriously when I was a kid. Because I mean, how are you going to take that seriously? It's a girl. When you're a kid, it's just a girl hiding in the closet. You didn't know who I was talking about, did
No,
you?
hold on. I gotta tell a story now.
Oh,
So, part of my job includes going into buildings and documenting existing conditions. And so this one school that we're working on. You're going through and you don't know what you're going to find in these rooms, and the building is completely empty, and it's this dingy. It used to be a locker room, but they don't use it as that anymore. But it's like real low ceilings and real tight spaces, and you're kind of meandering back through. And so each time you turn a corner, basically you're flipping on a light. Well, I'm doing that, and I flip on a light, and there's this little closet, and they have a 5-foot tall cardboard cutout of Anne Frank stowed in this closet.
Oh my God.
Scared the shit out of me.
That's terrible.
You're telling me I about fainted, man. There was a couple other guys that were with me. I had to give them a heads up, like, hey, Anne Frank's about to murder you down here.
What were you restoring? Like, what was the building?
It was a elementary school. It's
What kind
under
of fucked up
construction right now.
elementary school will put a cardboard cutout of Anne Frank in the fucking attic?
Holy shit.
In a closet.
Oh, it was in a closet.
Yeah.
Well, that school read the book, apparently. Well, why would you need a cardboard cutout?
I don't know.
Just to scare
I
the
didn't
shit
ask
out of
any more
people.
questions. I just changed my underwear and got out of there. Sorry to go off topic, but
Hold on, I gotta find a way to snap back from that. Yeah, what I was talking about earlier. I don't know if you guys have ever seen them. Here's those I'll put a picture in here too. Here's those spherical tanks I was talking about that Germany.
How the hell does that work?
what am I looking at?
That's a
That's
tank.
a tank. It's a spherical tank.
Okay.
And that was like a legit Nazi tank.
What do they shoot? How do they shoot?
I don't know. It's like a Star Wars thing, I think.
It's an X-wing.
It's in a museum in Moscow right now. It's never been examined by Western culture.
What happens if it tips over one way or the other?
I don't know. I think it's kind of like those things on
It
those.
just rolls over.
Yeah, like the Jurassic World movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't a tank, but you know what I mean.
Weebles, it wobbles. It don't
It
fall
looks
down.
like it clearly can fall down.
No, it's round.
Yeah, it can't fall down if it's
You
round.
kick that thing one time and it's just like
You can break your foot.
But some of the tech that like was first German tech. You got the spherical tank, which I don't know about that. Then you got guided missiles, stealth bombers.
That, we'll go back down. That's from World War II. That stealth bomber.
It says the Arado E-555 and Horton HO-229 bombers were Germany's prime candidates to fly from Europe to New York for the purpose of dropping an atomic bomb. They used the same flying wing designs and low radar profile that the B-2 bomber would later adapt.
That looks like a modern
yeah.
plane.
Well, I think this is the one that they called the flying wing because it just looked like one big flying wing.
It looks like a bat wing.
And then you got the German mega
They've
tanks.
probably
What
been
in the fuck
space
is
time
that?
with
That's not real.
Well, no, I mean, that picture is not real. It says German tank technology was second to none in World War II.
Hold on. Is that a tank down at the bottom?
Yeah, but I think this is an exaggeration. But beyond the already superior, well, hold on, machines they were fielding, Germany was working on a variety of heavy, super heavy, and gigantic tanks. Most famous of these were the P-1000 Rate and P-1500 monster tanks, which would have weighed respectively 1,000 and 1,500 tons. So that's like 30,000 pounds. So that might be like what they were thinking. I know a lot of some of this stuff never got made. A lot of it were plans because they also wanted to do the orbital mirror lasers, and it was basically going to be like a sun gun.
These were just mad scientists.
That's why we're involved in the space race.
Yeah, and then the
First to
Nazi
get to the moon.
the Nazi UFOs I talked about, there they are.
Oh God,
I don't know if that's a real one though, but
for sure real. Why?
but just
How
think
could you even debate it?
but just think about that though. Think about if Nazi Germany had 10 more years.
scary.
What would they accomplish in those 10 years? Would those
Terrifying.
big ass 30,000-pound tanks be driving around here?
Absolutely terrifying.
Because if this thing, I don't care who you're fighting and what war you're fighting,
You can
if
run
this
over
thing-
an entire city with
Can't
that.
even
yeah, if
look
this
at
thing
that.
rolls up on it, and then the giant super cannons, which this is legit.
I've heard of those.
It says, known by a variety of nicknames, including the V3 and the London gun, the German super-powered cannon was a gigantic artillery piece that could shell the British capital from tunnels dug into fields near the coast of France. When complete, the cannon was so they completed this. The cannon was 140 meters long and could fire a 140-kilogram shell at a target over 165 kilometers away. It fired through a series of charges, igniting down the barrel, increasing the speed of the shell as it went. We need to jump on board with this metric system as everybody else is on, because I never know what the fuck they're talking about. And then the space planes. I mean,
Space planes.
yeah, German project codename Silbervogel, I never, was a theoretical design for a suborbital bomber aircraft that would have been able to attain 90 miles in height and bomb New York when launched from Germany. The aircraft got as far as a wind tunnel mock-up, and work done on the design continues to influence rocket and ramjet technology today. So that this is one of those Nazi things that everybody got something good out of.
Them bastards. Maybe we should have kept a few.
We did. That's why we got to the moon.
Yeah.
Just
Project-
stole their scientists.
Project Paperclip. And then the nuclear weapons I touched on a little bit earlier. It says German nuclear weapons research was competitive with American research. As German physicists made important discoveries in nuclear reactor construction, isotope separation, and heavy water production, a variety of factors kept Nazi Germany from breakthroughs needed for a nuclear bomb, including the interference from the government, the explosive of Jewish physicists and other doctors being drafted and sent into combat, and limited resources. But their findings later became key to Allied nuclear weapons research in the Cold War.
Did we have like intel during the war that this stuff was going on, or was this all discovered after the fact?
Well, no, because Einstein wrote the president that told them that they were developing this type of technology to separate
During the war.
during the war.
That's ballsy to even do that.
Now, I read a little bit of it. This book was really, really hard to read. Really hard to read. But it was called The Volunteer. And it's about a Polish soldier who volunteered to go to Auschwitz to be held captive and be a prisoner to overtake the camp and get intel on the camp.
That guy's a psycho.
That guy is probably the most badass guy I've ever heard of. I never heard
It's
of him.
the David Goggins of.
Yeah, because I just found the book just cruising around on Audible, and I was like, well, this seems interesting. Let me check it out, and then bam.
Well, we were trying to come up with a reason. We were trying to kind of justify the bombings in Japan. If we have intel that Germany's on their way with this, I just don't know why it doesn't. Those bombs don't get dropped on Germany
They're
instead.
too close to our allies.
True. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But if you have that intel that the Nazis are capable of this kind of stuff,
Well,
you
yeah.
have to
Go
pack.
full
You have
war,
to
yeah.
pack a game-ending punch.
Well, I think Germany was already dead when we dropped the bomb. I think they were on their way out.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Yeah, we did not drop the atomic bomb because they had surrendered in May and the bomb was not ready. We bombed factories, airfields, strategic installations, troops, and defensive bunkers and bases. We also bombed German cities and civilians, although our Air Force at the time did not like the strategy. But it was often done in retaliation for German attacks on London and other British cities. So we did bomb them. Like, we may not have dropped the nuke on them,
Yeah.
but we did attack Germany. But they were already out the game by the time.
No, never mind then.
And we had new tech we wanted to try out. on
Yeah,
some
we're like,
Japanese.
well, still got this war going on, so.
And Germany didn't directly attack us. Japan did.
That's true too.
Yeah.
America had to show how big its dick was.
That's the key right there.
What if America wouldn't have ever got involved until it was too late?
It was too late.
Well,
We'd be speaking German and we'd be blonde, blue-eyed.
None of us would exist.
yeah, we'd be gone.
Because I know for a fact I don't have any German in me.
I'm not even sure.
I think I'm English.
I am too.
I thought I had a little German and
Well, then
Irish.
maybe you would be good. Well, Irish and German mixed. I don't know if that would go.
Yes, nothing mixed is going to fly.
You're not pure.
No.
See, Hitler, that's what drives me crazy. Hitler wasn't pure.
Yeah, he didn't even fit his own
Blonde hair,
right,
blue eyes,
description, Yeah.
black hair.
Right.
I know he didn't
Dark
have blue
eyes.
eyes. He had
Yeah.
dark eyes.
Shitty mustache.
Shitty mustache.
Yeah.
Did anyone
Small
else at that time have that mustache other than Charlie Chaplin?
Was that in the same era? Was that in the same time?
I think it was before. I wonder if he copied Charlie Chaplin. I feel like Charlie Chaplin was like the 20s.
Who's the originator here?
Who the fuck has a mustache like that?
No, I feel like it was pretty popular.
Fucking first one, I typed in "What did Hitler have?" and it said a weird mustache. Let's go with that one. There is not much of story how Hitler got his mustache. Early Hitler had a bushy mustache. Is that Hitler? When he was fighting World War I, one day they were pulling gas masks over their faces because of toxic gas. To save themselves, they were using a gas mask. Hitler was not able to seal the mask because of that bushy mustache.
That makes sense.
So you just chop off the ends.
I think I would have just got rid of it all.
Is that
That's him? No.
That's him, dude.
No.
He
Yeah.
looks like a thug.
No.
Well, you got to think by time World War II came about, like Hitler was up there in age. Because let me see here.
What did Hitler go to prison for?
What was that called? The beer. It was basically. I don't know why I can't think of the word. What the word I'm thinking of when you disobey your country?
Treason.
Treason. He went to war for treason. Or went to prison for treason.
What the fuck?
And that's where he wrote
man.
Mein Kampf.
I know that, but how does that make any sense? That the entire German population got behind him after he was already caught with treason.
Well, you
I don't know.
you also
I
got
don't
to
know
think
enough of
the
German history.
Germans were done with this government because of what happened in World War One.
That was the old way. Still, though, that's
So it was between the First War and the Second War, there's an entire government basically overthrow or regime change.
Yeah and no. Hitler, I don't remember the exact year. I want to say it's like 1933, 1932. Hitler was elected chancellor. But that's still one below.
Mm-hmm.
There's still one above him. But he ended up getting power, emergency power in like 1937, 38, somewhere around there, and he became Führer.
what
So-
does Führer mean in English?
Uh,
Because that's a pretty cool name for a leader, Führer.
Especially for a guy that's particularly furious.
Yeah, I think he made it himself.
says Führer is a term with German roots, and it is a form of title given to a particular leader or guide. It is in generic sense somebody in authority of a particular group, organization, or even a whole country is given the title Führer. So I guess it's kind of like president.
Just a name.
Like I said, I think the main thing we're trying to get out of this, none of us are experts on this. We probably got a bunch of stuff wrong. We probably jumbled a little bit because we're trying to fit 6 years into an hour-long podcast. But it's just something that everybody needs to know about. I mean, at the very least, I hope we just at least sparked an idea in somebody's head. Like the Holocaust. I don't really know too much about the Holocaust. Really, that many people died? I'm going to look into this more. Even if somebody doesn't believe it and they're like, I don't believe that. I got to look into this a little bit more. They're exaggerating a little bit. Just as long as we spark that idea, I think we did good.
Yeah, well, I think even it's obviously very morbid history, but it's exciting to learn about this kind of stuff, and I've learned a lot just by sitting here listening to you guys today.
I think it's necessary too.
Sure.
It needs to be taught.
Yeah, so I don't suggest you sit your kids down in front of on YouTube and have them watch this because all the facts weren't here. Like I said, I probably got a few things wrong or jumbled some stuff. But the basis is it happened. Go learn about it. Netflix. If you don't want to read a book, Netflix has a bunch of documentaries about it. Just go check them out. I think we're good to wrap up on this one.
Okay. All right. We had to push back the Dane episode, so will be next week. We'll have Uncle Dane on board.
That'll probably be a 3-hour podcast.
It very well could be. So we're going to walk through. I've never actually sat down with Dane and heard him give a chronological event of his life. And if I haven't, I bet nobody else has either. So I think that'll be pretty captivating. So
are we going to start from day one on this? Are we going to start before or after conception?
Before.
Hopefully slightly after. Is that all for this week?
It's everything.
All right. Learn something new this week.